Hey Mixers, welcome back to another NFL video. Today we're going to go over some early week one spreads, totals, and sides. I'm also going to be putting out a couple videos for week one touchdowns and week one player props, early ones. So I separated those so that we wouldn't have one giant long video. So I don't know if you prefer that or not. Let me know in the comments if you prefer one long video or if you prefer three shorter videos to cover the different aspects of those games. But let's go ahead and jump on into some of these early lines because we have a lot of value here. And if you're new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a little comment. My picks will always be free to you no matter how big this channel gets. So I appreciate the free little things that you can do for me. All right, guys, so you'll notice that week one is kind of a little bit crazy, of course. So we always want to be a little bit careful betting on week one. We don't understand how these teams have changed in the offseason yet. But I think we actually have an edge over Vegas because they don't really understand how these teams have changed either. So until the teams actually hit the field and perform, neither one of us knows. So that's where we have a little bit of an edge over Vegas to make some of these gut calls based on our own football knowledge. And, I made a lot of money in weeks 1 through 4 last year, but, of course, not everything hit and not everything will. This is still gambling. So we are going to be focusing heavily on the NFC North, just so that you know. Our first best bet is going to be the Lions plus 110. That's the money line at the Packers. You could also just take the spread plus 1.5. But I like the money line. The Lions swept the Packers in 2024, so they won both of their matchups in 2024. They won by 3 and they won by 10. And Jordan Love did play in both of those games, although we know he probably wasn't at 100%. The 10 was at Lambeau when they played, in Green Bay. So I do think that the Lions obviously lost a couple coaches. We don't expect them to be as dominant of a team as they were previously, but they still have the same players. And I do expect them to still be one of the toughest teams in the NFC. So I'll just take a little flyer for some plus money on the Lions to win the game. You've never seen the Lions at plus money for anything. So I'll just take a little bit of a gamble right there on them. And then we're also going to go over to the other matchup for the NFC North, the Vikings at the Bears. The Vikings money line is plus 100, so I'm taking that as well. When I took it, it was plus 100. Now it's minus 105. But it's flip-flopping on books, and I think you can still get it at plus 100 on DK. So the Vikings did beat the Bears by 3 and 18 in 2 games last year, so they swept the Bears last year. The game at Soldier Field was played in November. This time it's obviously going to be played in September, so it'll be a lot warmer. Obviously, the Minnesota Vikings are a cold weather team anyways. They're used to playing in the NFC North. So I just think that the Bears are going to be better. They brought in Ben Johnson. They've brought in some other players, and I think that they are going to be a little bit better than last year. But I don't see them really challenging the Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers for this division. I don't think they're going to make a division run or a playoff run here. And so if I'm getting plus money against the Bears, I'm pretty much always going to take it until they prove otherwise. So if they come out and just demolish the Vikings, then, I'll start to look at the Bears a little bit differently. But until they prove it, I'm going to be betting against them when I can get the plus money to do so. Our next best bet is going to be a total. We're Chiefs at Chargers, under 45.5. Now, this game is an international game. So this game, I believe it's going to be in Brazil, similar to the Eagles and Packers game that was played in Brazil to start the season last year. So they're in their 2 games last year. The Chiefs and the Chargers totaled 27 and 36. So they went way under this line. The Chiefs have only went over this line, 45.5, in 6 total games last season. And the Chargers only went over 45.5 in 6 total games last season as well. So they're only going over this line a third of the time each. Head to head, they are not going over this line. And they're playing internationally, which should mean a more defensive, kind of more safe game. I just don't know how this line is 45.5. I do expect it to drop. Obviously, either one of these teams is capable of scoring on the other, but I think they're both very defensively minded. They're both going to try to run the ball, even though both of these teams are built to stop the run. So I just think they're going to have a tough time putting a bunch of points on the board. So we're going to go under that total of 45.5. And then I have a 6-point teaser for you. Obviously, teasers are kind of hard to hit, and mine is a 3-team teaser, so it's going to be even harder to hit than a regular teaser. But I don't like playing the teasers for minus 120. I don't like really playing very many things for minus money. You'll notice if you watch my videos. So I'm going to take a 6-point teaser for plus 160. We're going back to that Lions at Packers game, and we're taking that 1.5 line up to 7.5. So that means the Packers are going to have to beat the Lions by more than a touchdown. I just don't see that happening. And then the Vikings at the Bears plus 7.5. The Bears would have to beat the Vikings by more than a touchdown. I could see that happening if JJ McCarthy is not good. But I think that he's going to be at least as good as Sam Darnold was, who is not a good football player. So I think that, the Vikings have created a system where any quarterback can just come into the system, and if they're halfway decent, they're going to be able to succeed. So I do expect JJ McCarthy to be able to succeed there and at least, win this game. If they don't win the game, at least not lose this game by more than a touchdown. And then the Broncos versus the Titans. The Titans will be heading to Denver for week 1. Cam Ward played in Florida in college, and he played almost all of his games on the East Coast, in the Midwest. He did not play at elevation. So the Broncos are already a tough team to play at home. They just drafted, they used their first pick on a cornerback. They already had the number 1 cornerback in the league. So now they have probably 2 of the best cornerbacks in the league, and they're going to be able to shut down anything through the air. So I took that line from minus 7.5 to minus 1.5. So the Titans just need to lose this game by just 2 points or more. I think that's definitely doable for them. So that is my 6-point teaser for week 1. And then I have one lean for you. It's a money line pick. The Saints money line plus 190 versus the Arizona Cardinals. You can now get this at 200. So you can even get a better deal than what I paid for it. The spread is only 5.5 and the total is 41.5. So I know that everyone expects the Saints to be very bad this year. And I also expect the Saints to be very bad this year. And people are expecting the Cardinals to be a little bit better. And I would be a little bit more cautious of that because last year, every single member of that Cardinals team was healthy and they were still not able to perform. So I'm a little bit more hesitant. I want to see it before I believe it with the Cardinals. The Saints are playing at home. So I'm just going to give them, what could be one of their only wins of the season in week 1 for plus 190 odds. I really like those odds. These two teams have not played since 2022. The Saints did win by 12, but obviously, the players on the field were a little bit different at that time. So we can't really rely on any of that data. So just to review, my best bets for week 1 spreads, totals, sides are Lions plus 110 money line at the Packers, 1 unit. Vikings plus 100 money line at the Bears, 1 unit. Chiefs at Chargers under 45.5. That it says at Chargers, but really that's an international game in Brazil. 1 unit there. And then a 6-point teaser, plus 160. Lions at Packers plus 7.5. Vikings at Bears plus 7.5. Broncos versus Titans minus 1.5. And we're going to just do a half unit there because those are pretty hard to hit. And then my lean is Saints money line plus 190 versus the Cardinals. Half a unit there. So the leans will not count towards the best bets record, but I am going to track my leans this year, just so you can see how my leans have done over the season. All right, thanks guys. That's all I have for you today for week 1. I will be coming out with another week 1 video when the season gets a little bit closer, if I see any of those lines moving in a direction that I like. So I will definitely post another video if that is the case. If not, these will be some really good early lines that we can take for right now for week 1 in the NFL. Thanks.